This episode is sponsored by SmartVestor. Connect with an investing pro for free at RamseySolutions.com/invest. You're listening to Ramsey Everyday Millionaires, where we talk investing, retirement, building wealth, and outrageous generosity.
Jacob is in Detroit. Hi, Jacob. Welcome to the Ramsey Show.
Hi, Dave. It's good to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
Sure. What's up?
I was just wondering why you recommend using mutual funds instead of index funds.
Well, to start with, index funds are mutual funds. They're a type of mutual funds. And why I don't recommend using those exclusively is pretty simple. There are about 40% of the mutual funds out there outperform the S&P. And the typical, when someone says index funds, are typically talking about an S&P 500 index fund. Are you?
Yes. Among others, there's the Dow Jones, there's the NASDAQ, and others like that. But
there's Russell.
Yes.
There's a bunch of index funds. But 90% of the time when somebody calls me talking about index funds, they've been reading about Bogle and, Bogleheads and passive investing. And Warren Buffett's advice is just buy index funds, which is not bad advice. An index fund will perform at the stock market rate exactly. I own index funds. I'm not against them. But I do also own a whole bunch of mutual funds that outperform the S&P and have over 30 years. So that would be why I would do it. Does that make sense?
Yes. Just the fear that I'm having is you mentioned a percentage of the mutual funds perform better than specifically index. And I want to be the guy that wins and not the guy that gets lied to. Well,
what you do is you look at the best shot you got is looking at a track record. The only reason you depend on the index fund is looking at the track record.
Mm-hmm. Right. If we're looking at past performance to indicate future,
it's the only thing you have to indicate future.
I mean, if you have two funds in
when the commercials say that, Jacob, it's absolute bullcrap. Because think about it. How can you forecast the future of an investment other than by analyzing its past and any changes that have happened since that past performance? And the only way I can if I'm looking at a budgeted area inside my company, I use the last 3 years to establish the budget for the next year, plus or minus any changes that have happened since then, right? That's called forecasting. And to not use past performance as a primary indicator, if there are no changes, the only indicator of future performance is asinine. It's the only way you could. How else would you forecast the future on it, Jacob?
Well, we can look at the index funds, and they always exactly track the market average. So
exactly.
We can use that as 100%.
But you're still looking at past performance. That's what you're looking at when you're looking at that.
And it'll always be true for index funds, just not other types of mutual funds.
But you can look at other mutual...
No. That's not true, Jacob. Because indexes are composed of like for instance, the S&P 500. Okay, the components of the S&P 500 have changed over the years. It's not the same companies. You know that, right?
Right, but it's still the average. And
it's still the average of the top 500 companies. But it's not the same 500 companies as it was in 1940, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, or 2000 or 2010. It's not the same 500 companies. Mm-hmm. And so to use the index fund and project that into the future as if there were no changes is ridiculous. It's the only thing you've got, though, and say, okay, it is going to track the market. It is representative of the market. So the only question is, do I have a reason to believe that a mutual fund, I'll give you an example, one of them that is the second largest mutual fund of all time right now in terms of number of assets, it has had an 85-year track record of outperforming the S&P. Well, crap, that's kind of a no-brainer, man.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's got an 8-month track record of outperforming the S&P, fine. And Jacob, if you buy S&P and you put 15% of your income in it, you're going to be rich.
That's great.
So I'm not going to be mad at you. But to do it on the to say don't recommend mutual funds because 60% of them don't outperform the S&P, and they don't. Bogle was right about that. Buffett is right about that. But I mean, I can find in the other 4 out of 10 mutual funds out there that have a 85 or a 25 or a 50-year track record that outperform the S&P, and I'm going to end up making more money than you're going to make because the mutual funds make more money than you make. So, but it's okay. We're both going to be rich. I'm just going to be richer. That's all.
Thanks for listening to Ramsey Everyday Millionaires. Need help with your investments? Connect with a SmartVestor Pro at RamseySolutions.com/invest or click the link in the show notes. Ramsey Solutions is a paid non-client promoter of participating pros. Learn more at RamseySolutions.com/SmartVestor.